Hello, welcome to another session of the eCommerce MasterPlan Virtual Summit. As you should know by now, this summit is packed with the tips and strategies you need to achieve your goals this year and beyond. I'm Chloe Thomas, podcast host and author, and the host of this summit, which means it's down to me to make sure it's an event that gives you top quality advice and ideas in every single session. And I have worked with every single one of our speakers to get the content spot on, and I'll be with you in every session, making sure that we get the best out of every topic. Now, we are slowly nearing the end, but you have to stay tuned because we've got two brilliant sessions coming up, and then we will be wrapping up with our live Q&A session to answer all your questions about customer retention. Okay, we couldn't cover customer retention without touching on loyalty, that huge term that is loyalty. And that is the topic for our session with Camilla Bass from Fresh Relevance. Now, Camilla's role at Fresh Relevance is all about taking the best of what happens on their platform and in the wide world of e-commerce and putting it into content that will help their customers. So we've persuaded Camilla to do exactly the same thing for you guys, to take the best of what she's seen happening among Fresh Relevance's customers and beyond and distill it down into something you can all implement to grow your sales with. So let's get Camilla on screen. Hello, Camilla. How are you doing?
Hi, Chloe. I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm starting to flag a little, but the content is really great, so it's keeping me going. And I know we're sharing a lot of great stuff with everybody. So so I'm excited. I love loyalty, but I think, like a lot of the audience listening, find it quite hard to work out how to actually do it. So I'm looking forward to the session. Shall we dive straight in?
Yes, let's dive in.
Here we go.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to go away and leave you to it.
Great. Thanks so much, Chloe. So I'm really excited to be talking to you about customer retention today. And as Chloe said, I'll be focusing on loyalty. Specifically, I'll be talking you through 3 ways to boost loyalty with your business as usual and triggered emails. But first, some introductions. I've already had a great introduction from Chloe, but again, I'm Camilla from Fresh Relevance. I'm the content marketing manager, so I pretty much spend all my time either researching and reading about e-commerce or writing about e-commerce. So with introductions out of the way, I want to start with some stats and a look at why customer retention is so important. So converting new customers is vital to the success of your e-commerce store. But what about that pool of existing customers, the ones who've already taken a plunge and purchased something or are making repeat purchases from your site? If you don't have a retention strategy in place for those customers, you're sitting on an untapped gold mine that's potentially losing value each time one of your competitors woos away an existing client with a better experience. But why exactly is customer retention so important? Where's the evidence? Well, retaining your existing customers is proven to be cheaper than acquiring new ones. And here are a couple of stats to prove that. So you've probably all seen this stat before, but it's really compelling, so I wanted to share it again. It can cost 5 times more to attract a new customer than it does to retain an existing one. 5 times more. And if that mind-boggling stat isn't enough to persuade you, research shows that a 5% increase in customer retention correlates with at least a 25% increase in profit. Now, 2020 completely shook up customer loyalty as we know it, making customer retention and loyalty more important than ever. Research from McKinsey shows that 75% of consumers that they surveyed in the US tried new brands last year, and 40% of those consumers actually changed brands last year. And then finally, Forrester predicts that spend on loyalty and retention marketing will increase by 30% this year. So if you aren't investing in retention and loyalty yet, your competition almost certainly is. Hopefully that's got you in the mood for loyalty. So let's move on to some specific tactics. For the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to cover 3 ways to boost customer loyalty with your business as usual and triggered emails. I'll start with 2 personalization tactics for your business as usual emails. Then I'll move on to 1 type of triggered email that is invaluable to customer retention, and that's replenishment emails. And finally, I'll give you some action points to take away now. I'm going to show you some examples along the way because it's all well and good talking about these tactics, but we all love seeing them in action. And I'll also be sharing some stats from the Fresh Relevance loyalty report. So, personalizing your business as usual emails. Like all good relationships, your relationships with your customers is a 2-way street, and they expect something in return for their loyalty, whether that's perks like getting early access to sales or receiving a personalized customer experience that's completely tailored to them. Our research from the loyalty report shows that 1 in 5 consumers are more likely to be loyal to a brand that sends marketing emails that are tailored to them. So whether that's reflecting their product interests, their preferences, or their location, for example. This is the breakdown of that stat by age group. So you can see that it's a pretty even stat across the age groups, and this is something that all consumers want. Our research also found that 1 in 4 consumers will consider not buying from brands again if they email them every day with the relevant information. So this really isn't a nice to have, it's essential to be personalizing those emails you send to existing customers. Okay, first tactic, personalized product recommendations. Product recommendations are always a good idea, but when it comes to your existing customers, you have so much great data about what they've bought and browsed previously that there are so many opportunities to personalize those recommendations. One way to do this is to use their past browse and purchase data and recommend products based on that. By doing this, you're helping them view more products that are likely to resonate with them and helping them click through to your site. Here's a great example from BioGift. So you can see they've got a nice little recommended for you header above those recommendations, which just makes it really clear that these are experiences that they've cherry-picked for me specifically. And then they've also boosted those recommendations really nicely with some social proof. So they've got popularity messaging. They show you how many people have bought these experiences recently. And they're also using star ratings to boost trust. BioGift has actually seen a 24% sales uplift with personalized product recommendations in their email newsletters. So this is a proven tactic. Here's another example from online clothing retailer glitches.com. So they send their shoppers a branded newsletter whereby any customer who's bought a certain brand will receive an email with recommendations as soon as that brand's new collection is released. And this is a great way to inspire their customers with products that are most likely to appeal to them. They also include a lovely header with the name of the brand to really catch the shopper's attention. Okay, second tactic, dynamic hero banners. So your hero banner is the first thing customers see when they open your email. And it's the bit that grabs their attention and very quickly tells them whether this is worth their time reading and whether they should click through to your site. So transforming your banner into a piece of dynamic content allows you to show each customer the image that's most likely to spark their interest. You can get creative and use the data you have on your existing customers in lots of different ways. So for example, you could personalize the hero banner with product imagery based on their most browsed or purchased product category. Or you could pull in customers' details, such as their name, to really grab their attention. So in this example from Anime Direct, they pulled in the name of the customer's pet for their Christmas newsletter. So you can see the name Aiden on the little Santa hat there. This was zero-party data that Animed had collected, and it's a really nice way of combining that data with dynamic personalization. So I'd like to quickly talk about segmentation, because segmentation is a key prerequisite to getting these types of personalized email campaigns set up. Segmentation allows marketers to take control of the customer data to drive revenue and really improve the customer experience by providing the most relevant content to each segment. And repeat customers is, for obvious reasons, a really key segment when it comes to retention and loyalty, because it means you can send those customers content that really resonates with them, and it takes into account your existing relationship with them. So you're not treating them like a brand new visitor each time you email them. So moving on to the second item of the presentation, replenishment emails. For frequently purchased consumer goods, such as contact lenses, for example, or vitamins or pet food, you can give customers a timely reminder to repeat the purchase they made previously. And this is something that customers have said that they want. So our research shows that 1 in 5 consumers say they would enjoy timely replenishment reminders. And the word timely is really key here, because you shouldn't send these emails straight after they've made the purchase. That wouldn't make any sense. It has to be when the customer might soon run out of the product. Here's the breakdown by age group. So you can see, interestingly, this is something that the younger generations are slightly more interested in. So if they're your target audience, then you really should consider this type of triggered email. Here's a nice example from Viavet. So Viavet sends these types of replenishment emails for particular products, reminding customers that the time to reorder is approaching. And they also make that very clear in their header, which is nice. So finally, some action points. Firstly, ramp up the retention boosting power of your business as usual emails with personalization tactics, such as personalized product recommendations and dynamic hero banners, to provide those existing customers with a really tailored experience that's going to boost loyalty. Secondly, make sure you've got segmentation set up, or review your existing segmentation strategy to ensure you're actually able to target repeat and loyal customers with relevant and personalized content. And thirdly, add replenishment emails to your triggered email repertoire to send existing customers timely and useful reminders, making it easy for them to make a repeat purchase. And here's the loyalty report that I've mentioned and that the stats are from. So it's the 3 C's of customer loyalty: convenience, communications, and customer incentives. You can download that from the Fresh Relevance website now. And then I just quickly wanted to introduce Fresh Relevance for those of you who don't know who we are. We're a personalization and decision engine that helps brands automate the customer experience with decision-making process using a versatile range of different tools. We integrate with your existing tech stack to improve conversion rates and retention, and ultimately deliver a better customer experience. We're flexible, working across teams, whether that's a cross-channel project or whether we're just working with the web team or email team, for example. And common tactics we offer include dynamic content on the website or in emails. So that could be product recommendations or social proof, for example. And we also enable our clients to send highly targeted emails, such as triggered emails. And finally, to give you a flavor of who we work with over 350 clients across the globe. Hopefully you can see some familiar names there, and you can see some businesses that you relate to. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chloe, for inviting me, and I hope that there are some actionable points you can take away from that.
That was brilliant. Thank you, Camilla. And thank you so much for having that page about the customer loyalty report at the end. You'll see I've quickly, hastily written it in front. And I don't know why everyone, I apologize for the fact I put HTTPS, because quite clearly you all know that's there. But I was hastily typing it and for some reason decided to type the whole thing. But I was going, I need this report. Where is this report? So
thanks, Chloe.
So
apologies, I should have given you that link before.
No, it's brilliant. It's excellent that you included it, because it was going to be my first question was, where do we get the report? Everybody, that's where you get the report. Right, that's totally derailed me, because I get very excited about a report. One other quick question I had to ask you was zero-party data. I'm slightly embarrassed that I don't know the answer to this, but what is the definition of zero-party data, please?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked. I think it's a good question. And like sometimes we assume that everyone knows what the jargony terms mean. But it's basically data that the the consumers are provided willingly and freely. So, you know, sometimes you see really fun like quizzes on websites like popovers with quizzes saying like, you know, what's your favorite type of makeup? Or in the example of Animed, it's like they ask you what type of pet do you own? They ask you what's your pet's name? So that's information that I would give freely to them. And in return, you expect that retailer or brand is going to provide you with a more personalized experience. So that's kind of the caveat of zero-party data. It's you need to, as a brand, you need to be able to provide that personalized experience and do something with that data. But yeah, it's a great way to collect customer data.
Excellent. I love that as a term, the idea that it's not just data we own and we're allowed to use, it's the data that the customer has given us freely and subplot with expectation we might actually use it to make their lives better.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. I shall be adding that to my marketing dictionary.
Great.
Which anyone who's now trying to Google for Chloe's marketing dictionary, it's in my head. You're not going to find it on the net. And Camilla, tell us very quickly, remind us just where we can find you guys at Fresh Relevance if anyone's got any other questions they want to fire off to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at freshrelevance.com. You can also find us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all the usual. And then my email address is there. So camilla.bass@freshrelevance.com. I'd love to hear from as many of you as possible if you have any specific questions related to anything I've covered, or if you just want to chat e-commerce, then that's fine with me.
That's what Camilla's job is all about, chatting e-commerce with people and pulling it together. So she really does want to hear from you, everybody who's out there. Okay, so Camilla, I love the examples you shared there because they're ones which any business of any size could implement. And I always think that's kind of like, people ask me, Chloe, you've been in e-commerce for nearly 20 years, what's changed? So, well, fundamentally nothing's changed, but the tech has enabled things that would have cost us $5,000 in setup fees back then that you could do with a couple of clicks. So I love those really practical examples. But one question I've got for you is, all of this kind of means we need to do some kind of segmentation of our buyers, and I find that's where people get more stuck. Is like, yeah, I know how to do a personalized thing in my email, but I don't know how to work out what the segmentation is that makes it actually worthwhile doing. So where do you see e-commerce businesses succeeding with segmentation when they first start doing it?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it is just such a prerequisite. And as you said, there's technology that can help us implement all these cool personalization tactics. But yeah, a really basic place to start is obviously splitting out your existing customers and new shoppers. So that's kind of a given. But then a good first step is to segment based on browse and purchase data. So this allows you to really customize emails based on shoppers' interests. So that's how you can implement your personalized product recommendations, your dynamic content. And then once you've got that in place, I think it's a great time to start introducing more advanced triggered emails. So like back in stock, for example, or price drops are two really cool triggers. So that's people who have browsed products that have now dropped in price or products that have come back in stock. You can just trigger an email to them and encourage them to come back to your site. And then I think it's worth mentioning that with segmentation, I think an issue can sometimes be that behavioral and transactional customer data sits in inaccessible silos or like in unhelpful formats. So I know this can be an issue, and it means that creating segments can be quite manual, and you're manually, moving large quantities of personal data, which is obviously has a lot of implications for GDPR, and we don't really want to be doing that. So it's just so important to have the right technology in place to help you segment safely and securely, automatically, and avoid any risk and enable you to implement those personalization tactics.
Now, I like the fact you kind of split it into triggered things and kind of what happens in your business as usual emails, because I think that's another place I find retailers getting a little bit stuck is, should the the back in stock, should that be a section of our business as usual email, or should it be a triggered email, Or, if you know you've got a big container coming in from a particular supplier and 30 things are about to come back in stock, do you, so the question I was working up to before I tangent us off in some crazy direction is, when it comes to in our business as usual emails, how do we, what are some really good things to be putting in there to enable them to be personalized as we're just sending stuff out?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to the back in stock that you mentioned, I think it's really interesting because I do receive lots of these business as usual emails with, lots of like, oh, these are all the products we've got back in stock. And I think there's still a place for that, and it's still interesting to see, and it serves the business because obviously they can promote this, new container that they've got full of new things back in stock. But then other ways to really personalize those business as usual emails is you're sending them, just as I mentioned, dynamic content is such a great way to personalize at the moment of sending. So yeah, it's just, you can personalize those product recommendations, add in any name personalization, all those different elements right at the minute that you send them, or even right at the minute that someone opens them, actually. So you're making sure that they're getting the most up-to-date information. And yeah, dynamic content's really the best way to do that.
And would you base that for these, because obviously we're talking about our people who've already bought from us here, would
Yeah.
you prioritize based on what they've previously bought or what they've previously browsed, or does it depend on the business?
That's another really good question, actually. And I think it's so worth testing for your business. Like, in terms of recommendations based on past browse and purchase data, it's so worth testing which resonates best with your customers, because the sky's really the limit when it comes to the data that you can use on your existing customers. I feel like that's the most exciting thing about loyalty. It's like you have these customers who you know so much about. So a really cool type of personalized product recommendation, for example, that you could use in your business as usual emails is people like you buy. So it's like looking at what the customers bought, and then looking at other customers that have also bought that, and then using machine learning and recommending the most likely eventual purchases. So there's just a lot that you can do, and I think it's so worth testing what works best for your business.
Yeah, because I expect you see, like I've seen when these tests are being run, that quite often it's not the one you think that will drive the sales that
Yeah,
turns out to drive the sales.
definitely. Don't assume anything, I would say. Just if you can, and if you have the tools in place to enable you to test, definitely test.
Excellent. Well, Camilla, thank you so much for being here and being part of the summit. Apologies, everyone who just heard my alarm going off. That's supposed to be a silent alarm to remind me that that I can't keep talking to everybody and that I have to stop at some point. Otherwise, all our timings will go wrong. So, apologies for the alarm, everyone who's watching. And Camilla, thank you so much for coming on and giving some really practical tips for everyone, and having a nice natter with me about the wonderful world of segmentation too. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Chloe. Thanks so much for having me.
Phew, well, thank you to Camilla for those brilliant tips. And if you've enjoyed this session, please share it on social media. You should know by now, but the buttons are right down in front of you. If you know someone who needs to watch this session, invite them to watch it later, because the replays are available on everything and are free to view too. On the right-hand side of the page, you can download Camilla's slides, and you will also find the link to find out more about Fresh Relevance. We are producing an ebook of the summit. Yes, the learning doesn't stop here. It includes my team's notes on each session with screen grabs of the key slides shared by the presenters. Any resources will get linked to too, and you're going to get my recommendations on where to go next to learn more. If you're watching on replay, you should be able to download it from this page right now. If you're watching live, we're going to email it to you tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. If you've enjoyed this session, make sure you also check out our earlier session with Matt Edmondson, where we were looking at how to go offline to build loyalty. But right now, stay tuned, because up next, we've got Liat Karpel-Gerwitz from Wix, who's rounding things off with a much easier way to calculate and use customer lifetime value to your advantage. Slight spoiler there, but I know some people go nuts for a session that's got customer lifetime value in the name. Some hate it. Trust me, all of you are going to love the session and the technique that Liat's going to be taking us through. So please do watch that. And after that, join our live Q&A panel at the end of today's content, if my voice lasts that long. I will see you, however, in the next session.
You have a product you're passionate about, and now's the time to grow your online sales. Klaviyo can help. Klaviyo is the ultimate marketing platform for growing online sales. Build higher value customer relationships using email automation, SMS marketing, and list growth tools. Turn your dream into a reality with a free Klaviyo account.